My man. Doing the most. Doing the most. You know I had to remix this bitch. Shout out our boy. If I get caught up in a storm, but the rain is keep me calm. All my life I dealt with pain, see no evil cause on. Chop along just like a arm, no bitches we fucking on. Doing wrong without them knowing, I'm the GOAT if you ain't know it. And you can't go do what I've been through. Wish I had somebody I could vent to. And you can't go through what I've been through. Wish I had somebody I could vent to. I just need someone to call on. I've been making moves like Michael Corleone. I won't say that shit until it's set in stone. Bitch, don't say my name if you gon' say it wrong. I can't touch these drugs and keep.
Yo, it's your boy CT Crusher here checking in. Just wanting to remind y'all to go subscribe to my homie Hoodie Jube for the Hoodie Jube live podcast. We talking pressing topics here for you every night of the week. Hit that ding dong bell to make sure you don't miss an upload. Come join in on the conversation. Help us expand the community. We do a lot of giveaways, give away to a lot of charities, giving away to the local children's hospital. And oh, by the way, if you want a chance to win free NFL tickets, yes, I said that, free NFL tickets, make sure you subscribe and hit the ding so you don't miss a chance to win free NFL tickets. Peace out.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Hoodie Jube, and if you're looking for the best restaurant in town, man, go try Weed Ass Chicken and Shrimp, man. They have the best chicken wings, the best chicken tenders, the best fried shrimp, the best fried catfish, and their fries are so amazing, covered with ranch, cheese, bacon, jalapenos. Oh my! Yes, you heard it. Go try it out. They got 4 locations: Monroe, Louisiana, Marrero, Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana, and Houston, Texas, baby. Go try it now.
Right, man. What up? I won't speak on nothing but the real. You know how I'm coming. You know what I'm saying? Say we've been down for too long. The only way is up, it's time to move on. Never leave your house without your shoes on. Them killers want to spot you, cannot move on. Ain't worried about that girl, I tell them move on. They say it's my fault, but I'm feeling I can't do wrong. Cut all my partners off, let me open like the roof gone. Long talks and I ain't never changed, it's just been too long. Gotta shake him back and that's a fact, so I'm turned up. All up in the club, I'm going down and I'm like, what's up? Throw me in that water, I won't go down, I'm too up. She want with a man, I knock that hoe down, I'm too up. Told all the friends, now she just want me to grow up.
You can't see us, I time Saints going to the Super Bowl, talking black and gold. Cameron Jordan on the field, about to take a QB soul. Ever Kamara break a tackle, so you know he bold. Mike Thomas catching everything, so you know he cold. He talking Power Man, dude, he talking Marcus May. We in the backfield, we gon' make them pay. Them boys hitting hard, they need an X-ray. Yeah. We talking black and gold. 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 Straight to the Super Bowl. Your time is up. Our time is now. Say hoodie, you can't see us. Our time is now. Hoodie Jube in the building. We shining now. We shining. You can't see us. Our time is now. You heard me? Your time is up. Our time is now. You can't see us. Our time is now. Say hoodie, Hoodie Jube in the building. We shining.
Here he is, Hoodie Jube.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Hoodie Jube, and we are back with another live podcast. And if you don't know, you will know. There's no YouTube without your boy Hoodie Jube, y'all. How is everybody doing tonight, man? Me? I'm just doing just fine over here, man. Just getting off of work, ready to chat it up with y'all about some running back options that we're going to have in the 2023, knowing that Kamara is most likely going to be suspended, probably up to 6 to 8 games, maybe longer than that. We don't know. But we know that they got footage on him. They know it's him, so he's most likely getting suspended. So we will need some more help at running back. Even if, Kamara wasn't suspended, we still need some help back there in the backfield. So we're going to cover those shortly real quick. But before we do any of that, let me give a special shout out to everybody that's in the chat real quick, and we'll get this show underway. We got Miss Barbara. Who that to you, Miss Barbara? We got the Queen in the building. We got Jerry, the old freaking G in the building. Who that to you? We got Elite Goods, my man. Who that to you? We got Rose City in the building. Who that to you? We got It's Poppy 504. Who that to you? We got Mikey Saints, fan for life. Who that to you? He said, thanks for inspiring me to start a YouTube channel. No problem, man. And guess what? You got to thank Big Q. He's the one that inspired me to make my channel. So just remember that. Thank everybody that started it before us that inspired us to do what we're doing now. And I think that's everybody for right now until we get more people into the chat and all of that. But just to let everybody know, oh, my bad. Uncle Deuce is here. Who that to you, my man? All right. So before we even get into the running back situation and talk about the running back options and stuff like that, I have a special guest that came on to give me a little bit of his time to come discuss, running back options as well with his, the running backs that he think would be the best fit for us and stuff like that. And everybody should know this guy because he is the godfather of the Saints YouTubers. When I said the godfather, you should know who it is. Yes, he is the host of the Sports Coma. My man, Big Q. How you doing?
What's up, Hoodie? How you doing, brother? Thank you for bringing me on, brother. I appreciate that wonderful introduction, my man, and it's an honor to be on the show again, my brother. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming on here, man. And basically, you know, with the thumbnail, everybody's looking at it, basically telling everybody, what are some of the Saints running back options, for
Right.
2023, knowing that they got footage now of Kamara, beating up somebody that's down there, so he's definitely gonna get
Yeah.
suspended. I'm hearing from some people, it's not all of them, but I hear some people talking outside of work that he could be getting jail time if the case, So we definitely gonna need a running back if he
Mm.
going to be suspended or in jail for beating the crap out this guy, in public. So we'll have to see on how everything gets filed for that. But you know, I got some of these people on here, coming from the draft. The guy from Tulane, Tyjae Spears, who was outstanding this year for Tulane, and ran all over a USC defense.
Yeah.
To help them win that game, championship game. You have a guy like Robinson out of Texas who was up, power back, who basically can do both too. But a lot of people said they love the way he runs and how he just make people miss, and he keeps, running without. He kind of reminds me a little bit of the Kamara when we first got Kamara. Never gave up on any
Hmm.
of the play, kept getting extra yards as much as you can. That's who Robinson kind of reminds me of. And then if you want to take away from the draft and you're looking at people inside the NFL already, that's a free agent. Some of the people that's on the thumbnail is a guy like Tony Pollard.
Hmm.
If Dallas thinks Zeke is the guy still, and that's who they're gonna roll with, man, Tony deserves a starting spot somewhere, and I
Right.
think he can prove it with the New Orleans Saints right now. While Kamara is gonna be suspended for most of the season, so I think he's a good option. A guy like Josh Jacobs is looking for a contract. Who was basically they were saying they were going to pick up his fifth year anyway. They wasn't going to pick it up and just let him walk. Well, he had an outstanding year this year. So,
Right.
what are the Raiders going to do with a guy like Josh Jacobs? And then the last guy that I have on the thumbnail is Saquon Barkley because he's having contract issues with the Giants right now. So he might not end up being with the Giants anymore because of the pay too. And he's a great outstanding running back. So, Big Q, is there anybody, extra that you can think of at the moment that, that's not on the thumbnail that you say, oh, he can fit in a New Orleans, uniform?
Hoodie, man, bro, listen, man, you very thorough, man. You have some really great ones up there. You got them covered from the college ranks to the pro ranks. Just to talk about Josh Jacobs, bro, that was a great call because Jacobs is somebody that's looking to get out of there. He's not happy with the Raiders, and perhaps if the Saints land Carr, they're hell bent on looking at Carr. Perhaps he can bring his buddy Josh Jacobs along with him to the Big Easy. That would be a nice little move by the Saints organization. To be honest with you, I do like Saquon Barkley. He had a wonderful year this past season, but the Saquon Barkley I think is going to be kind of pricey, to a degree. I do like Tony Pollard, but once again, it lends itself to what the Saints, what are they willing to do for these running backs? Are they willing to really go out and get a really thorough quality back? Or are they perhaps looking in the draft to find one that can just apt that, probably be like a guy that spans out over time, to kind of be a cheaper version for the Saints to go to. And there's several really intriguing running backs that's out there. You mentioned Johnson from Texas, which I don't know. He has a combination of speed and power, bro. I don't know if he'll be available at the back end of the first round of the draft. A lot of the experts, quote unquote experts, are looking at him as being a guy that goes somewhere between 20 and 25. Perhaps there he might be gone before the Saints can get a hold of him. But if that's not the case, there are several other really intriguing backs that the Saints could use. That's a combination of speed and power backs. Blake Corum out of Michigan. He's another smaller back, 5'8", 210, but he's a bowling ball. The guy has speed and power, can catch out the backfield. Wonderful running back. There is people mentioned Jahmyr Gibbs. They like him a lot from the University of Alabama. I mean, there are quite a few. Tanks Bigsby, I like him from Auburn. He's another good guy with one of his fantastic moves is he has some speed, a little power to him, excellent jump cut runner. So I mean, there are several other interesting running backs that's out there. Kendre Miller from TCU is another guy. So there's several really interesting. Keaton Mitchell. I mean, there are several really good ones that you can kind of look at. And of course, whether or not the Saints roll in that direction, bro, they could decide to do that or probably look at the undrafted ranks to find them. You know how we love doing that, Pierre Thomas and all these other guys.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, with the undrafted players, I mean, we do get lucky a lot with undrafted people. But to be honest with you, one of my favorite moves, I think, will be one of the best moves, for running back this offseason would be, in the draft, and that is the guy Tyjae Spears, from Tulane.
Right,
He's from Louisiana. He's from Ponchatoula, Louisiana. He went to Tulane, man, balled out for them, and what better way to show your city that you really love them by listening? Because if you go look all over Twitter, there's a lot of people wanting Spears, saying keep this man in New Orleans, keep him where he's from. Why not just do it? Because most of the time when you draft a guy from a smaller school, but that basically you keep them in state, in town from where they from. For
right,
some reason, they play the hardest because they're gonna be playing in front of their families and friends because that's where they from. They can make it to those games all the time, and they're gonna be playing 10 times harder just to show the family and friends like, hey, I made it here, and this is why I'm here. You
right.
know, and I don't like passing up on people like that. And I think Spears would be a perfect fit, especially with a guy like Kamara out, because
Oh yeah.
Spears can do it all. He showed it at the Senior Bowl, breaking
Mhm.
people's ankles and practice
Phenomenal.
on catches and stuff. It was just unbelievable, So I think Spears is like one of the ways to go. And if I was the New Orleans Saints, I'll try to get him in the second round, maybe third, but he might be gone by the third with the way his draft stock is going up because of the Senior Bowl, how it went with him.
Right. Yeah, you're right, Hoodie. I mean, and then of course when the combine come, you can expect him to skyrocket, bro. To be quite
Mhm.
honest with you, I expect him when they clock him, man. He's gonna be one of the fastest backs that's at the combine. He catches out of the backfield. He's really elusive, and like you mentioned, he's a combination of speed and he did show power, bro. He showed power that he can handle it. And what I like about him, and you mentioned, like I talked about the USC game with Tulane have. If it wasn't for Tyjae Spears, they wouldn't have won that game, bro. I mean, he gave them what was it, 4 touchdowns in that game, 200 something odd yards or whatever it was. I mean, he was phenomenal, bro, and he showed up in the biggest moments of the game, and that really says something about what type of player this guy could be in the Saints uniform. You can imagine the type of applications they would employ with Tyjae Spears. You either get him or you either draft the guy Hoodie or you be playing against him on Sundays, bro. So I'd rather have him on my team
Yep.
than playing against him, bro.
That's how I feel. And quick question: do you know how many games a college normally play?
Most colleges, what is it? What is it about? What?
Is it 10
10
games or
games?
something
Yeah,
or
10
12?
games. I think it's 10 games. 10 games that they usually end up playing. No, 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 no. Hold on here. It's usually a little more than that.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
trying to
it's
figure out how many games they
10 or
played
12
at
games.
this thing with.
I forget, bro. I'm kind of forgetting that right now.
Yeah,
Look
okay,
at
'cause
that.
I'm trying to figure it out because I'm looking to see how many games he played all last year. So hold on,
Maybe
let's see.
about that. I'm saying because LSU finished with 10 wins. They lost what, four games, so like 14 games. I want to say they play maybe 14 games.
So
I want to say,
14.
yeah, I want to say
Gotcha.
it's about 14 games that they play.
Yeah, because the reason why I wanted to ask you how many is that because I'm looking at ESPN your stuff. So let me share my screen with y'all just so y'all can see what I'm looking at as well. Basically, I'm just looking at his stats from this past season, and let's say it is 14 games. You divide 1581 yards by 14 games. That's about 113 yards per game. This dude averaging in college.
Yeah, he was one.
and it was pretty insane. I'm gonna look this up real quick. His career stats. So I want to see the 2022 season. Though, hold on, it might be here. Is there a way to click on this? No, I lied. Okay, because I want to pull up his Here it is, right here. Recent games. We're gonna look at all his rushing yards and his receiving yards and stuff, and it's just some crazy numbers. So against USC, like I said, that dude went balling out. Out of the 17 attempts, he
Mhm.
ran for 205 yards, averaging 12 yards per carry, and he got 4 TDs. And that's just insane for a running back, especially in a smaller college that he's in, playing
Mhm.
against a bigger team like USC, and to run all over them like that in a
Right.
big game, like you said, the big game like that in the championship game is pretty damn impressive to me. And then you
Right.
look at the the UCF game before that, which was one of the American Athletic Championships. He
Mhm.
ran for 199 yards. He was 1 yard away from another 200-yard game.
Right.
Um, the game before that, 181 yards. The game before that, 121. Game before that, 130. Game before that, 157. Game before that, 125. Like there's only, let me look at it. There's only one, two, three, four, five games that he didn't hit 100. The rest of them were 100 and up,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that
He
tells
was
you
on.
something.
Yeah, you Hoodie. There, yeah, the statistics speak for themselves. I think the only thing the scouts would say about Tyjae Spears is that he didn't do it against elite level competition in terms for the entire year. But you only can beat who you play against. But
Yeah,
but when you see in the USC thing, it shut up a lot of people about Tyjae Spears. I think the size, they don't like his size or whatnot, and a lot of them will kind of talk against him to kind of down his stock a bit, to drop him a bit. So I mean, it's the same thing they did with Jalen Hurt several years ago when they were talking him down, talking about he was going to be a third round or fourth round pick. When he came out, I said, "There's no way that guy's going to be a third or fourth round pick," and he went in the second round to the Eagles that year when he got drafted. So yeah, family members is absolutely right. It is 13 games. It's 13 games. Uh,
13.
yeah, with the bowl game. So yeah,
Yeah,
it was interesting to watch him. Yeah, so I'm like you, Hoodie. I'm a big pusher of Tyjae Spears, bro, and getting him in the black and gold, bro. That's what I'm looking for. I would really like that. I did a mock draft picking him up in the third round, but the combine will probably
boost him.
catapult him to the second round, bro. Yes,
Definitely. And I wanted to ask you this, Big Q, too, because I know we on the topic of Saints running backs options basically for the season, from the draft to
yes, sir.
free agency and stuff like that. But let me ask you this: so like Tyjae Spears is somebody, especially with the combine coming up, he can probably boost himself into probably the second round, go from a third,
Yeah,
fourth to about a second, probably,
right.
maybe the first, depending on if a team wants to bite on him because he is like a young Kamara basically. Um, but the question is, will some teams pass up on him because he is only 5'10"? He is a little bit smaller
Hmm.
than some other running backs, so maybe. But like I said, if he does boost himself into the second round, and let's say the Saints do have to use that second round on him, what are you doing with your first round pick now? Are you going try to package that up and get more picks, package that up and try to move up and get somebody? Like what are you trying to do, Big Q, or what do you want the Saints to do with that pick 29?
Late first round draft pick. I try to look at trying to see if I can fit the most pertinent need, and I'm thinking in the draft, more than likely the Saints are not going to take a quarterback that high with that first round draft pick. I'm thinking they'll probably go a position player if they don't decide to, fall back. So I think one of the biggest needs for the Saints is they still haven't answered the question in terms of, and I know it seems like every year, bro, every several years, we find ourselves looking at the defensive end position, trying to find somebody to mash up as a complement to Cam Jordan. Do we finally do that? I'm looking at, possibly seeing if we can get somebody there because I don't think the Saints go into free agency and try to see if they can find a veteran complement for Cam Jordan. It just seems like they'll do the cheaper thing, which is to continue to see if they can find a defensive end, a young defensive end there. They have to because Cam is at the back end of his career. You're going to have to find somebody to kind of replace Cam and then be the complement. So I would draft the defensive end to compete with Peyton Turner, who will be healthy, and whoever loses between those two will become the situational pass rusher or ultimately, you can look at an interior defensive lineman at that position. So that's what I'm looking at, because you remember David Onyemata's a free agent. Hope they reassess and re-sign him and give him a compliment next to him, a nose tackle. We seen the best from him when you had a defensive tackle like Malcolm Brown there. So perhaps we can get somebody to put right next to him in that position. But really, the onus is on getting a pass rusher to complement Cam. I think it should be the move if you're not trading back.
Yes, sir. And when you said D tackle, maybe in the draft, a lot of people, especially watching a lot of people's mock drafts and stuff,
Yes.
a lot of people are high on that guy from Pittsburgh, and because they're saying he's looking like the next Aaron Donald coming out of Pittsburgh. Um, I'm pulling him up right now if I can tell
Okay.
y'all his name, if I don't forget, if I don't say his name wrong. So give me 1 second. Uh, I don't even know why I'm on here. I should be on Google because Google's gonna tell you everything. These other websites suck. Just saying. Let's see. All right. Unless somebody in the chat knows who I'm talking about, then y'all can put that in the chat. Let me know what y'all think.
Yeah, I think we were linked to the tackle you talking about in various reports today.
Yeah, I don't want to say his name wrong, so that's the reason why. Let's see, 2023 draft. Yeah, prospect. I might have passed him up. Yeah, wow. This ain't made me click on the wrong thing. I ain't trying to look at no Steelers mock draft, damn it.
Collage cancer, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with this computer or why it's trying to do everything so slow. But yeah,
Yeah,
Kalijah Cansey, that's his name.
mhm. Yeah,
Kalijah
Clemson.
Cansey.
Yeah, yeah.
So they saying he might be the next
Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald. So I
Yeah.
mean, and they saying that he's probably most likely going to fall to number 29. So I mean,
Oh yeah.
that could be a way to go. At number 29. I mean, in my heart, knowing that we have a guy, a really talented receiver like Chris Olave, a guy like Rasheed Shaheed,
Yeah.
one of my things that I really wanted to do, but it's going to be super hard as a New Orleans Saints, especially with Dennis Allen as your head coach. You ain't going to probably see him do this, but I would love to see him package up, the 29 pick and a future first round or whatever you can to move up and
Hmm.
get a guy like CJ Stride, who did play with a
Hmm.
guy like Chris Olave, or package something up and call the Bears and say they're still trying to maybe get rid of Justin Fields because he played with Chris Olave for a year or two. So like,
Hmm.
get somebody that's got the chemistry with your star receiver now.
Hmm.
That's what I'm looking to do. But then when I found out the Derek Carr situation, I was thinking that's not really that bad of a choice just because of he's a way better. I say he's 2 times better than the damn Andy Dalton that we had last year. He's more of
Right.
a he would be, to be honest with you, in a New Orleans Saints offense with the weapons that we do have. And I did see a lot of rumors and everything going on with what's his name? Michael Thomas.
Yes.
Liking a lot of stuff about Derek Carr coming here, calling out Nick Underhill on Twitter about certain stuff. He said, "I'm gonna keep these receipts, about you," because basically he was Twitter and I was saying Michael Thomas basically off the roster with the with the restructure of his thing. It looks like he's gonna
Hmm.
be out of here,
Right.
and he's telling him, "You better keep your receipts, goddamn, because I got them right here." Basically saying like nobody said I was out of here, out of New Orleans.
Right.
So basically, sounds like he still wants to play. He's posting a lot of stuff about being in New Orleans. Liking Derek Carr stuff, all kind of stuff. So it sounds like if you bring a guy in like Derek Carr, it seems like Michael Thomas would come back for the right price, and it looks like he wouldn't mind restructuring his contract to bring in a quarterback like that, which would be great. Then he would have a guy like Michael Thomas. You would have a guy Chris Olave, Rasheed Shaheed, and another guy, Big Q, that I really want to talk about. I think Jarvis Landry, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's gonna
Yeah.
come back on another price, a cheap price, because he didn't get his contract that he wanted last year from anybody. Nobody bite on him, so he came to us, and wanted to play for his city and show him, that he still got it, but
Hmm.
got hurt and wasn't really able to prove to everybody in New Orleans that this is who I am. So I think he will come back for another year, cheap price and
Hmm.
running back, especially if you get a quarterback in here too, like a guy like Derek Carr.
Hmm.
Um, so I think Derek Carr might be the best route, but a lot of people are looking at the Carr situation right now. He went to go visit the Jets this week. We're gonna see how this goes with the Jets, bringing him in. But a lot of people are saying that the reason why they do think still that the Saints are the top landing spot for him
Mhm.
is he went and visited us twice already. He really likes Dennis Allen. That's the coach who drafted him before. And another reason why they thinking they're gonna land him over the Jets would, because the Jets will bring them in for a visit, but they still literally said on the thing that they are super high on trying to trade for Aaron Rodgers. So if you wait too long and try to get a trade in Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr might go somewhere else, and that they saying most likely looks like it would be the Saints.
Yes, yes, yeah. That seems to be the logic that's out there right now. Hoodie is you mentioned the jet visit went exceptionally well. No word on who he goes to next to go and see who's interested. I'm pretty sure he'll have several other people lined up just to talk to him. But in the end, the Saints, Dennis Allen wants him to be on the squad. You know, the Saints want him bad. They were willing to trade for him, and he rebuffed him because he didn't want to give the Raiders any compensation. But at the end of the day, it does appear that Dennis Allen is focused on Carr as the guy. And then, of course, you mentioned Jarvis Landry. Would be interesting, bro, to bring Jarvis Landry back. You mentioned Mike Thomas saying that he's going to be here. The money says something else, and we'll see
Yeah.
what happens with the money. Because look, Nick Underhill is not often wrong. Let me tell you something. Nick Underhill does his work. He not like Jeff Dunkin' Donuts. This guy is thorough. Yeah, Nick Underhill's very thorough. So I don't know what's going on there, but the money, that's what we looking at, the guaranteed paper. But yeah, going back to Jarvis, I don't know, bro. Remember Jarvis Landry was a guy that came here because because Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston, he wanted to play with Jameis, and Jameis obviously is on the way out. It's sad to say he's on his way out, but just Jarvis say, let's run it back. That would be fun to see him come back here with Carr. Now, a lot of people might not be, overexcited with Carr, but listen, to be honest with you, it's a guy that can push. He can push down the field, man. He can get it going. I mean, 4,000, 4 or 5 years straight of 4,000 plus yards worth of passing in the NFL. The guy has a strong arm. He can throw it down the field. He got Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed to stretch out defenses, gives us room underneath to operate. So it definitely looks different than what we had last year. And if they could pull it off, it's simply a bridge situation. The Saints still have to draft the quarterback at some point high in the draft to add behind Carr, so when the time comes, they can just transition with the younger guy.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think I was talking to Royce Jackson on Twitter before, and I told him I said hear me out, and he said okay, let me hear you out, and I'm gonna tell y'all hear me out, okay? I think the best off-season
Mhm,
situation that could happen is the Saints sign Derek Carr. All right, so he
mhm,
signs, I say, to a 3-year deal or 4-year, depending on what he wants. Um, so it's out into a 3-4 year deal. Then in the draft, pick one. You go with your defensive tackle. Go with the Kansas guy that could be um, the next basically Aaron Down on your team.
mhm,
To go next to David Adamadu. I told him then in the second round, this is where I would go after my running back. If Robinson from Texas is still there, cool. If not, I will bite on Spears because I think he's that damn good. Like I said, I think he's gonna move up in the draft stock because of the combine coming up. I really do think he's gonna move up to the second. So that wouldn't be a bad steal in a second to go after my running back. And then in the third round, depending on how the quarterbacks are looking, I would go after a guy like Hendon Hooker in the third, just because remember he is coming off the ACL tear in college, so a lot of teams might pass up on him, and they all projected him to go in the third. So that's where the Saints, steal him in the third as well. And
right.
then basically from fourth on, you basically just gonna fill in your spots of need. You might need an edge rusher to kind of help out. Just fill in your blanks. Maybe a safety because Marcus May might be suspended for a little bit, so we'll see
Right.
what they do at safety. You just fill in your roles and stuff like that. And then when it comes to resign your players like Caden Ellis who balled out last year. Please don't let Caden Ellis or some of these other people that stepped up this year and balled out for you run like a Trey Henderson, where you just
Mhm,
let them go and they go ball out somewhere else. I mean,
mhm.
they showed it to you that they can do it. You just didn't want to give them the money for it. So I think that could be one of the best off seasons. And a lot of people are saying, well, bring Derek Carr, man. We're not even going to get that many more wins. I don't know because Derek Carr, his whole career so far, he sold and basically gave his heart out to the Raiders organization. I'm here for you. Stayed there for 8 to 9 seasons. But
Yep.
guess what he's never had in 8 to 9 seasons? Number one, he never had a great coach, which, to be honest, none of these coaches are great either.
Mhm.
But there is something that we do have he never had, and that was a top 5 defense. He never had a defense to carry him. They said that the biggest, like the highest his defense was ever ranked was like top 20. That's nothing for a team that's putting up points
Mhm.
but can't win the games because your defense. And like I try to tell people, in the NFL, they got some people that are good quarterbacks that could have a bad game, but they still win because they just did just enough because their defense held them and kept them in games. And that's why I try to tell people we got a great defense for a guy like Derek Carr. And Derek Carr is a way better upgrade over Andy Dalton that we had that can actually win you games. He has I think somebody posted this and I forgot where I took a screenshot of it. But Derek Carr is like third or fourth in the league right now, or no, second or third in the league right now with the most comeback wins right now with 29. At the time Brady just retired, he's like second or third with the most comeback wins ever.
Mm.
So I mean, he is a quarterback that can come back and win you games. And why did he come back? Because their defense sucks. But guess what happens
Mhm.
when you got a guy that can bring you back and win your games when you got a top 5 defense? So I think this can fit. And don't forget, if you go look at our schedule for next year, a lot of easy teams because we sucked this year. So our schedule is a shitload easier this year. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but I looked at the projection. I was like, shit, you even bring Jameis Winston or somebody back. And, you look at the team we got right now with no Michael Thomas. This team can still beat and win almost 10 games next year just because of how good the defense can be. And it's crazy. Just go look at the schedule and look how easy these teams are we're going to be playing next year.
Yeah, Huda, you make a great point about the schedule, man. I think the biggest concern I have about the team outside of Dennis Allen is, the key things that hurt the Saints squad wasn't exactly the talent. We had the talent to at least get enough wins to get to the playoffs. The issue was the discipline, which tied to the accountability, and I'm big on that because that's some of the things that if you're a strong team with discipline and focus, and you have the right attention and the right mindset, that you can go far. Because it's really, when it gets down to it, everybody's physical. They're all big, but who has what it takes internally to be able to push through the most dire situations to win? And that's what we fall short of. Because at times the Saints don't show that same ferocity, intensity, and discipline and intelligence. They don't show that. That's the big point. That's the big thing that I'm saying is how does Dennis Allen bridge that gap? How does he fix the discipline there? What does he do to stop the team from leading the NFL or being the tops in the NFL in these undisciplined, disagreeable calls or penalties, the false starts, the craziness that shoots ourselves in the foot? What does he do to remedy that? That's the big question I have as far as Dennis Allen, because I know the Saints will acquire talent. They will have a decent draft. They will acquire some talent to add to the team. The issue is, how does Dennis Allen, the head coach, take that discipline and incorporate it into the team for a full season, get them through that, and then into the playoff window? How does he do that? Is he going to learn something new that he's never done before in his entire life? That's the big sticking point, with more pressure on him than he's had since he was a Raiders head coach. So that's the thing I'm looking forward, because I know they're going to get the talent, but it's just Dennis Allen, those small things there, which turn out to be very, very big things. Does he exhibit those things to be able to take the team to the next level? That's the question in my mind.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we got to see what they're going to do. I noticed we got basically a whole new, you know, coaching staff right now, basically, besides Dennis Allen, um, P. Carmichael, and I think Ronald Curry or something. I think everybody else. Oh, and the receiver coach we got last year from
Yeah,
Tennessee. I think
yeah, Cody
basically that's
Brown.
about it. Everybody else has gone to Sean Payton or they found a new job. So we brought in a lot of new, coaches to help out. So I'm ready to see how that's going to roll. Even though most of those defensive coaches, ain't going to be doing no play calling. It's always going to be Dennis Allen. Um, but a lot of people, because I have been thinking this Big Q, and I know how we all got pissed off at Pete Carmichael, and we all wanted him gone. Why is he not going?
Mhm.
And all that. But if you think about it, we all were frustrated. We were pissed off about the season. We were pissed off
Right.
about how the defense was doing so good, but the offense couldn't do shit.
Right.
But if you think about it, I think some of it was on Pete Carmichael, some of it was on Dennis Allen trying to mix his hand in there and say, here's some of this. Like, dude, you're not an offensive coach. You're a defensive coach. Take your hand out the bag. Let Pete Carmichael do his thing for we can see what he is about. If he's not that shit, get him out of here.
Right.
Well, the other thing was, what can Pete Carmichael do with the quarterback he had last year? The one that they went into it with has the strongest arm on the team. He can run out the pocket and extend the play, unlike Andy Dalton, who's only can sit in the pocket. And when you only got a quarterback that can sit in the pocket and not athletic to move out the pocket, and you got to protect your quarterback, it's hard to run different type of plays, But if you bring in a talented quarterback, like a young guy like CJ Stroud who can do that, or you bring in a veteran like Derek Carr who has the arm talent still that can go deep, who is still kind of young that can escape the pocket if he needs to, run out and extend a play, you can probably run a better type of offense. You can run different plays, But with the Andy Dalton last year playing almost the rest of the season, basically almost a whole season for you, I mean, what can you draw up for him? It's basically just like when we had Drew Brees. Why the hell are we running these same plays? Everybody knows it because Drew Brees couldn't draw it down the field anymore. Same thing with Dalton. He's not the same Dalton that he was when he was in Cincinnati.
Right.
And I think that's what kind of set our offense back a little bit, because when you're stuck with one thing, you can only run certain things with that player. And I think that's why I tell people, depending on who we get at quarterback this year, if it's like a Derek Carr or CJ Stroud or somebody that's talented more, then I can judge how Pete Carmichael coaches. But if he brings back Andy Dalton, just know what we expect. We're going to see the same shit as last year, because Andy Dalton, you can only call certain stuff with him.
Right.
So that's why I try to tell people I'm still going to give my boy Pete one more year, hoping, like I said, we get a more talented quarterback to where he can draw up some better stuff than being a simple.
Yeah, that's a good call. That's absolutely a good call, Hoodie. I mean, you're absolutely right. What does he look like with a healthy, strong arm quarterback there that can orchestrate his offense? So I think a lot of times if you get Carr there, Carr's not going to relent the quarterback role to Taysom Hill to go in there and throw bombs. There's no need to have Taysom Hill in that role. If you're going to bring Taysom in, you better bring him in as a running back. You don't need to take Carr off the field to put Taysom Hill in there. So you're paying him 30 plus 30, whatever, $40 million, whatever the Saints are going to end up getting him during the free agent cycle, because they're going to lay out for him. So I mean, that was the thing too, to be fair to Andy Dalton, that he complained about, and the reporters asked him about that, and he said he didn't say it. After Dennis Allen said he said it right before he got on the podium on the same press conference. So I mean, he said that Andy was saying that he didn't like the fact that he had to switch out with Taysom Hill as much, because he really couldn't build a rhythm that way. So the truth, it was a very abnormal situation at the quarterback position that the Saints was operating in, but they needed the spark that Taysom Hill gave them. So right. So I mean, at some point, if you want to use Taysom, you don't have to take Carr or whoever the quarterback's going to be off the field to put Taysom Hill in the game. You just have to be able to know how to use him, whether he's a tight end, a running back, wide receiver. There's other applications to use Taysom Hill. So, but yeah, I don't that part of the game I expected to change.
Oh, definitely. And Big Q, what do you think about this? Do you think, let's say the Saints, try to be aggressive in the draft for different, positions, and think that they can wait, to the third, fourth round to find that running back like Spears or somebody else, and let's say they get off the board and they don't get what they want? Could you see the Saints go a route like, let's say they do sign Derek Carr and you don't need to put a Taysom Hill back there anymore to do them trick plays? Do you see them going in a route, maybe putting Taysom back there, seeing what he does? I mean, he plays almost every damn position as it is, and he likes to truck people. So, I mean, you might as well put him back there and hand him the ball and let him just truck people.
Yeah, well, that does. That's what I'm saying. His versatility, bro. It's for their imagination. Like if you can imagine having Taysom Hill, you get all your weapons involved. If you can get them out on the field all at the same time, that's wonderful. And you mentioned Tyjae Spears. You had Tyjae Spears, you have Elvin Kamara there, you got Taysom Hill there, you got Chris Olave, you have Rashid Shaheed. Hopefully they get Kirk Merritt involved. He's another fantastic young player. Lucas Krull is a really good tight end. Hopefully he gets an opportunity to play as well this upcoming season. So the Saints are blessed with a lot of very good young talent there. It's just only thing stopping them offensively speaking is the imagination. If they get a quarterback that can push the ball down the field and some help back there, they can be able to create a lot of great things. So yeah, the Saints could be able to go in multiple fronts when they go into the draft, to be honest with you. The Andrews Pete situation, we talk about the offensive guard. Andrews, Pete. I think he could eventually be a cap casualty. Do the Saints draft the guy to replace him or simply move James Hurst there and then use a pick on a draft pick further down or early? I don't really see him doing an offensive lineman that early. I don't see that happening. But then again, you never know with the New Orleans Saints, bro. I'm looking at it like this. I know that if Pete's not there, James Hurst is good enough to start at you at the guard position. I'm looking at the defensive end position because I think that's the most glaring position. Davenport wasn't the answer. Bringing them back on the cheaper deal is not the answer. You have to go out and find somebody that can play opposite of Cam, and eventually you're going to have to replace Cam Jordan. His contract is up, I think, after this year. So if the Saints have to extend out, they still have to be able to find somebody to kind of help Cam in some capacity. And like I mentioned, interior defensive line, safety at some point later on in the draft is something else you got to look at as well. And of course, you mentioned Tyjae Spears. There's several really good, interesting running backs that can help the Saints in free agency. It just depends on the mindset of the person looking at what's going on with the Saints. So,
yes, sir. And Big Q, I got this comment pulled up by my boy Millie. Who that to you, Millie? He
yes,
said Carr been in the league for 9 years. What has he done to say he'll be a good fit? It's not like Peyton's still here to groom him. Just blow half of it up and start after this year. They wasting money. Millie, just to give you my response, and then I'm gonna let Big Q answer the question. Tell him, basically give his answer on this one. And basically, to be honest with you, Millie, Carr never really had nothing with the Raiders. He actually brought the Raiders to a playoffs with a roster that wasn't that great. And for 8-9 years that he's been in the league, what talent did he have? Every time they got talent, one of them went to jail. The other talent they traded away on defense to help him out on defense, Khalil Mack, like everything he got, they kept giving away. That organization was terrible, and they were terrible after terrible because he had no help. He had no top 15, top 10, top 5 defense. He's always had a top 20 at the best. They said top 20 if that at defense. So when you bring in a guy like him who's going to have a top 5 defense to help him out, have him some weapons, and a guy like Chris Olave and them, have a Kamara once he does come back, you draft him a good running back in Spears, he can do some really good things for this team. And I think a lot of people like Millie, I think you're overlooking him a little bit, kind of like Jameis Winston, same situation. He got drafted into a shitty organization,
same
got
thing.
out, and he came here. And guess what? He was in a good situation. And then what we do? Sean Payton retires, and you leave him up to Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen just said, "Well, I don't believe in Jameis because you're stupid. That's why." And look what you did now. Because the thing that I'm gonna be really pissed about, they released Jameis, right? He goes somewhere else. You don't get Carr. You don't get nobody, and we end up with Andy again. That's gonna be the worst situation you can ever happen because we already know what we got to witness.
Yeah, that's a great point. I made mention of that too. There's a lot of parallels between Carr and Jameis Winston. They stories, inconsistency in the franchises they came from, the constant switching of coordinators, offensive coordinators and coaches around them. They couldn't, learn in different systems. There wasn't any, I guess, environment of stability that players need to thrive. And the Raiders simply didn't provide that for Carr there. But despite that, he was still able to take down all of the passing records and become their number one passer for the Raiders organization, which is commendable, very commendable. Anytime you can do that, and the Raiders have won championships in the past, and they had some pretty good quarterbacks that are in the Hall of Fame, and he took their records down. So I mean, at the end of the day, the guy has a lot. I think people are not really enthused about it, Carr, because of his starter record of 63-79. That don't really enthuse a lot of people. They don't see him as the answer, and he really isn't the answer. He's just a part of the puzzle. You still have to put people around him. You still have to provide him the environment to be productive in. It's sad to say it wasn't Peyton. With Peyton gone, it's Dennis Allen, and Dennis Allen has to win this year to keep his job. So it's a bit of desperation going on here, and I think he's going to what he knows in Carr. So yeah, a lot of parallels as speaking from a franchise drafting standpoint between him and Jameis Winston. Really, really interesting there.
Definitely. And basically, Big Q, just to kind of get back, to the running back options real quick. Remember how we was talking about Josh Jacobs earlier? I don't know where the video went because I was watching it. It was one of the Saints players, coaches or something like that was out there at the Pro Bowl or something, and somebody asked him a question, about the Derek Carr, because there was rumors of him going to see the Saints
Mhm.
and all that, and they asked him what you think about that, and he said, "Oh yeah," he said, "that'll be great, wherever Derek Carr lands, man, I'll be happy for him, um, or whatever." And he was asking about then he asked about the Saints, because that's where Derek Carr could be landing, and he said that'll be great for him, man. He said they got great weapons over there and everything. And they basically asked him, "What do you think about New Orleans?" So, what's your thoughts on a city like New Orleans? He said, "Oh man, I love the city of New Orleans, man." And he says, "I've been there a few times." He said, "Love the food, love the atmosphere, love it all." And he even said it that I don't know if anybody heard it, but he said the Saints could be a landing spot for Josh Jacob as well if
Mhm.
the situation with his money and stuff doesn't work out. That's what he said
Right.
on a little interview, and I can't find this damn interview now, and I'm pissed off because I wanted y'all to hear it. But Josh Jacobs said out of his mouth, the Saints could be a landing spot for him, because he likes it, he loves it. If the money situation doesn't work out with him and the Raiders, and I wasn't gonna ask you, because did you get to see that video or?
No, I didn't. I didn't get to see that video, Hoodie, but I did hear that. And then on top of it, the Saints land Carr, he's going to definitely recruit his Josh Jacobs to follow him there.
Oh yeah,
Elvin Kamara needs a compliment back. And the Saints, and they will if Carr says I want this guy, I want Josh Jacobs to be here. The Saints will oblige. They will oblige Josh Jacobs and give Kamara that thunder and lightning combo that we've been looking for a long time. But having Josh Jacobs and Carr here and the Saints offense definitely wakes things up, and it does provide insurance policy in case Elvin Kamara and when Elvin Kamara does get his discipline from the league. So yeah, you mentioned 6 to 8 games, and yeah, you mentioned Goodell. Goodell is a guy that will punish the Saints very hefty. So yeah, that would actually be an upgrade in terms of adding him on along with Kamara and the Saints building around that. That would be awesome.
gotcha. And then I guess basically the last thing to talk to you about, Big Q, before we wrap it up, because I know you got your Pelican stream coming up soon.
Mhm.
Basically, this would be my question: out of the draft,
Mhm.
who is your number one and number two? Running back. Number one, that's who I want. If he's off the board, I'm going with number two. And free agency, who is your number one and number two running back? Like me, my number one automatically is going to be Spears. That's who I want. If he's not there, I like to get a guy like Robinson. If I can't get those two, I don't know who I want now, because those are my two favorite out of the drafts. And when you go to free agency, my two favorite right now would be number one, Josh Jacobs, and number two would be a Tony Pollard. Those are my favorite two.
Yeah, that's good ones, Hoodie. I guess in free agency, I guess you threw the Josh Jacobs thing out there. If the Saints get Carr, Jacobs is more than likely going to follow him. There, he's going to recruit him. But if not the case, there are other guys out there that could possibly be. Miles Sanders is a guy that comes to mind from the Philadelphia Eagles. He's another interesting guy that could be out there for the Saints to reach at. Who else is there out there? I was thinking about. Oh my goodness. Who else is there in terms of? I know Miles Sanders is a guy. I mean, I was mentioning this guy last year. The Saints, I don't think they're going to look at him, but Marlon Mack is an interesting guy for the Saints. That he's a guy that is a good running back, and you can get him at a premium. You can get him at a good cost, and you can bring him in to help you out there. So yeah, there are a couple of running backs, but I do like the Josh Jacobs call on that. To bring him in there. And maybe, like I mentioned, Miles Sanders, David Montgomery is another guy you could throw in there. That'll be a good back. They got some really good backs that you can get that won't cost you a lot of money that could possibly be out there. And in terms of the draft, you mentioned Tyjae Spears. I do like Tyjae Spears because of the Elvin Kamara comparisons. I think he really could be a guy that if something happened, you don't lose all of Elvin Kamara's type plays because Kamara's suspended. He can run a lot of those plays and give you value there. But other guys probably mentioned people like Blake Corum from Michigan. I like him. He's a bowling ball with speed and power if you can land him. I like Robinson out of Texas. I just don't think the Saints get him unless they give move up to get him, or if something happened and he falls to him, that'll be fun watching him. Tank Bigsby out of Auburn, I do like him, a power running back like that. Who else is there out there? But Kendre Miller from TCU, Keaton Mitchell is another guy from ECU. That's a few, and there's a couple of them that's out there. Hoodie, to be honest with you, that are pretty good running backs for the Saints. I forgot the brother out Devon Achane from out of Texas A&M. He's a smaller running back, kind of a scat back, satellite type of dude, pure speed. So I mean, at the end of the day, man, there's a lot of options for the Saints depending on which way they want to go on this thing, bro. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yes, sir. And last and not least, before we end this podcast, everybody, I want to tell everybody who that to everybody that's in the chat. Thank y'all for watching this show. Also, make sure y'all roll over to this and go to BizQ Pelican stream. If you are a Pelicans fan, he's gonna be streaming soon, talking about the Pelicans and stuff. And before we roll out here, Big Q, I want to hit this last comment by my boy David Jones. Who that to y'all always me and David Jones always go back and forth in the chat, even though he is a subscriber. He always, brings the negativity. I bring the positivity. But my boy David Jones says, so potentially 50 million plus for Carr and Jacobs, and we're in cap strap. Seems legit. But David Jones, I got to ask you a question. How long, just answer this for me. How long have you been a Saints fan? I really would like to know. How long have you been a Saints fan? Just because of what you commented, it would cost us probably over 50 million for both of them, maybe 60 for both. And yes, we're always in cap. Hell, you can call it cap strapped, whatever you want to call it. Seems legit, right? It does, because I mean, just think of the Saints. How many years in a row they kept saying you're over 100 and something million, you're over 90 something million. It happens every year, and guess what the Saints do?
Mhm.
Always find a way to get the people. And they said, I think it was Nick Underhill that posted it. There's a way that the Saints can go from being 50 million over in cap and having 40 million in cap this year
Mhm.
by just hitting your veterans, by just restructuring them. And they got other people you can still restructure to do more. But think of that.
Mhm.
He said David Jones said the late 80s. Gosh, the late 80s. So you see what the Saints been doing. They've been kicking the cans down the road, and it seems like it doesn't do nothing anyway. And people ask us, when are the Saints gonna start taking? When are we gonna, fix our cap space and all that? I don't think the Saints ever gonna fix their cap space ever, to be honest with you.
Right.
Because I think, to be honest with you, Big Q,
Yes.
I think more people are kind of looking to see what the Saints are doing now, and
Mhm.
I'm noticing other teams doing the same thing,
Right.
redoing their contracts, adding voided years. They doing the same thing, and
Yeah.
eventually the NFL is going to be like that. Everybody's going to be kicking the cans down the road as the league keeps expanding and the cap space getting more and more and more, and eventually the Saints won't really have that much to be in cap space as long as we don't get hit with no COVID or any random shit that's got to stop it and make the cap go down.
Right.
Every year we keep getting bigger, the cap keep getting bigger. It's gonna help us out in the long run. I think that's why everybody started to notice, like, damn, the Saints been doing this for 15 plus years, and then they haven't even fallen apart yet.
Yeah, absolutely. They've mastered that, man, and a lot of teams are following suit. How the Saints manage the cap, they've basically, to a degree, wrote a cheat code on the cap, and I'm just waiting for the NFL to start writing rules to stop them from doing it eventually. And when the league start doing it, they're gonna try to stop you from doing it because the Saints do it so well. But yeah, they're gonna. I mean, this is the thing too with the Saints. The Saints, the money hasn't stopped the Saints. They were $100 million, like you mentioned, up there, and they came down and still made moves. The C19 stuff didn't stop them. So I mean, they have a great way of being able to get around that. And then there's the desperation angle from Dennis Allen wanting Carr. So yeah, they were willing to trade and absorb the 30. What was it? It wasn't 40. It was this year's like 30 plus, north of $31 million on this year, and then 40 next year. They were willing to do that because the Saints in a state of desperation. Dennis Allen knows if he don't win, he gets fired, and he believes Carr is the answer at the quarterback position. If they got to bring Jacobs in, they'll do whatever it takes to compete because he's fighting for his job. He's fighting to
Mhm.
keep his job this year. So I think they throw a lot of stuff out and try to do everything they can to get it going. So
Yes, sir. And basically, he said from the late 80s, so I comment, and this is the comment back. He said, how many Super Bowls we won with that philosophy? I don't see many teams doing it. Well, a lot of teams are doing it now. David Jones, if you want to go look out there, there's teams doing that. And you're going to say how many Super Bowls we won. First of all, we had a dumbass miracle that happened with the Vikings. Number two, we got cheated out of a Super Bowl. So that should have been another Super Bowl. That should have been two Super Bowls we won. And don't forget the Saints, the past few years just had the worst luck on injuries when it comes to almost to the playoffs. Teams will be winning, looking good. Here comes the injuries. Here comes the playoffs. We get knocked out. So I mean, David Jones, understand. You're just trying to prove a point, but I'm trying to prove a point too. Mm, you know, but like I said, he's always in here supporting the channel, always putting some negativity, sometimes positive stuff too, depending. But I feel like 99% of the time he don't agree with what I agree with. But it's cool, you got to have somebody that don't agree with you before you can have a podcast like this. You can have discussions like this and all that. And I appreciate you, David Jones, for being in the chat like always. But with that being said, thank you everybody that, watched the stream. If you are just watching it now, you come in here late after the stream. Make sure y'all drop a like on the video. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button for me. Turn on your notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the great podcasts. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Big Q, which I think everybody in here is from the Big Q show. So, I mean, he is the godfather of the Saints. So if you haven't subscribed to the Sports Coma yet, what the heck are you doing? I don't know. But Big Q, thank you again, my brother, for coming on. And like I always do, I always hit you up all the time, just trying to get you to come on. I know you're a busy man. It's just a fun thing to collab with, other YouTubers, especially you, the Godfather. It's always fun collabing with you.
Well, thank you, Hoodie, man. I think you're doing excellent work, bro, building your platform, man. I know you're working multiple jobs, bro, and you're doing it and you're tired, man. And you're doing it, and I see it's a labor of love. So I like to thank everybody, man, for supporting the platform as well as Hoodie, man. Thank you, my friend. And thank everybody out there, man, for listening, and appreciate you guys so much. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And with that being said, hope to have Big Q back on the show sooner or later, or be on his show, however it's going to be. And with that being said, hope to be live again sometime this week. I'm hoping not going to be no damn week again. Like I said, I've just been having trouble with this damn internet crap. But other than that, thank y'all for watching again. Can't wait to the next video to where we chat it up. And Big Q, we always tell our Who That's fan. Who what? Who that, baby?
Who that?
And we are out of here.
Peace.
Run it up, Valero. Say what they lie. Say what they lie. Say what they lie. Say what they lie. We screaming black and gold. We screaming black and gold. We screaming black and gold. We going to the bowl. We screaming black and gold. We screaming black and gold. We screaming black and gold. Saints going to the Super Bowl, talking black and gold. Young Nolan Hooded Jew on the beat, we let you know. Chris Olave, MC down the field. Once the throw the ball deep, yeah, you know it's getting real. Put Jarvis in the slot, he gon' do damage. AK in the backfield, you know Durant. E. Davis coming through the line, QB running out of time. Tom Brady, that's mine. Yeah, the Saints did it fine. Hold up, chopper style, choppers out. Them boys wild, yeah, them boys wild. Chopper style, choppers out. Them boys wild, yeah, them boys wild. Hold up, yeah, we rolling. Hold up, yeah, we rolling. Hold up, yeah, we toting, my life. Marshawn Lattimore, play the left field. Marcus May play deep safety, so you know the deal. We got Tyron in the box, got the QB on lock. Man, we ready to rock. See, they gone in the fly out. A Debo, play the right side. Stop playing with that boy. 29, ready to ride. We ain't tripping at all. We going to the top. Yeah, we gon' spin they block. Yeah, we knocking on they top block. We rapping Florida leads, so boy was poppin'. The Saints really wildin', them boys on fire. We really number one, we move with silence. We zip them boys up, if it's a problem. Choppers out, choppers out. Them boys wild, yeah, them boys wild. Choppers out, choppers out. Them boys wild. Hold up. Yeah, we rollin'. Yeah, we told.